Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. This is the program that is making Bible study great again, or at least 5-minute a day, 5-day a week, studying the Psalms verse by verse Bible study great again. Here on the interweb, heard around the world, Daily Dose Radio. Today we're looking at the second part of Psalm 106, actually all this week. We started the first part last week, and just as a reminder, Psalm 105, 106 are sort of mirror images of one another. Psalm 105 is the good image. that's the good person's image, because there we're looking at all the wondrous things that God has done, His wonderful works, and the operative verb in that 105 passage is remember. We are to remember, and I said over and over again, remembering is good soul care. Psalm 106 tells us why remembering is good soul care, because 106, they forgot. They forgot the works of God, and because they forgot the works of God, we have this cycle of sin and judgment, sin and judgment, sin and judgment. Now, as you look at 106, you're going to say, well, what does that tell me about God? Because in 105, we have a wonderful theology of God and His great works towards His people. But in Psalm 106, I think the mercy and grace of God comes right to the front, because instead of destroying them completely, He's merciful towards them even though they sin. And we're going to find out about that. There's going to be a grand statement at the end of 106, beginning there in verse 44, that's going to show us how merciful God really is towards His people. And if we go back and we count all the sin and result cycles that we've had, we might say, I don't think anybody could be that gracious, but certainly God is. All right, now I've taken up a lot of time to introduce this second half. Let me just quickly read for you verses 25 through 28. But murmured in their tents and hearkened not unto the voice of the Lord. Therefore He lifted up His hand against them to overthrow them in the wilderness, to overthrow their seed also among the nations, and to scatter them in the lands. They joined themselves also unto Baal Peor, and ate the sacrifices of the dead. So again, we're in this sin and result cycle that's happening. Here we're recalling Numbers chapter 14. The people arrived at the land, and they murmured against Moses and against the Lord, because when they got to the land, they realized they couldn't take it because there were giants in the land. They sent the spies out. The spies came back with a bad report, except for Joshua and the other one whose name escapes me at the moment. They came back and said, we are well able to take it because the Lord's with us. But the people didn't listen to Joshua, and they murmured in their tents and hearkened not unto the voice of the Lord. You go back to Numbers chapter 14, you can read about that. They wanted to go back to Egypt. They set a captain to take them back to Egypt. Then they repented of that, and so then they tried to take the land, and they went up and they were destroyed and overthrown when they tried to take the land by themselves. So the result is not good. Verses 26 and 27 give us the result. And then we begin right again. We step into another sin cycle. And here in verse 28, it says, they joined themselves unto Baal Peor and ate the sacrifices of the dead. Now we continue with that in the next section, 29 through 33. We're going to talk about that result, the result of their joining themselves to Baal Peor, and then we're going to see another sin and result cycle, but that one, the next one that we have there in 32 and 33, is just a little bit different. So I hope you'll join me tomorrow as we look at that on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.